Hello YouTube, this is the Energetic Hope Cat, back from a long vacation and a long hiatus. I haven't been around for a bit because I was on vacation over the summer, and then I came back, and then I sort of forgot that my YouTube channel existed. Anyway, I'm back. So, today's topic of discussion is, how would the Lord of the Rings characters react if we're living in modern society? Secondly, how would they react to finding out there are movies about them? Okay, so about modern society, I am inclined to think that Bilbo, I addressed him in another video, would be an author, a poet, a scholar, like J.R.R. Tolkien was. He would probably go to Oxford and be a very British man living in London with a soft English accent, as you hear in the movies. Bright voice, bright, sweet, high-pitched voice, but gentle and pleasant is how I describe his voice. Very distinctive, very proper, very, very English sounding. If you were to rewatch the movies, you'd probably hear the way he speaks. Now, he would be an author, since Tolkien implies that throughout the books. He implies that Bilbo writes, so it only makes sense that he is a writer as an occupation, and a very poetic writer at that. Maybe even a more simple writer when he's writing novels. He would describe things vividly with imagery, but he would not go as deep as Tolkien. I don't think that he would go on and on for pages about things. I think he'd probably go like a few paragraphs describing something at most, and then move on. He wouldn't like go on and on and on and make you bored, because I think he's more of a simple, straight to the point type of person when he speaks, so I'm pretty sure that would be how he writes. But you never know. I just think he would be that way when he writes. Like, take a few paragraphs to describe a tree, a leaf, a piece of shrubbery, and then move on. And like go right back to what the characters were doing before, and then describe some action with, if he's writing a battle scene, and then move on. And then maybe hint at old histories of a place, and like kind of give little hints, and then move on. And then write that in another book. That's kind of how he would do it, I think, because he's more simple and blunt and kind of sharp. So that's kind of how I think he'd do it, but I think he would definitely have very descriptive tone when he writes. Very vivid tone, like Tolkien, but definitely less of it. But I still think he'd have a bit of that linguistic thing, you know? Like languages and like describing how they work in his stories. So I think he'd be a little bit like Tolkien, but just a little bit less complicated and info dumpy, but more simple. Basically, I think he'd be Tolkien, but a toned down version of him, like in terms of writing and stuff like that. It's kind of how I think of Bilbo as a writer. He kind of seems like that. He also seems like he'd implement a lot of humor and sassiness with characters and stories that he would write, and I just see that throughout The Hobbit. I'm like, okay, this is definitely what I think I think he'd write characters and how sassy they are, and definitely whimsical and lighthearted. Maybe dark at some points, but for the most part, very lighthearted and whimsical. But I think be his style of writing. I just picture people liking it, you know, like reading and go, oh, this person's a good writer, kind of thing, you know. They wouldn't have as much of a hard time reading the writings because they would have more fun, and the writing would be less problematic to read or less unaccessible. But that's what I think of Bilbo. Tolkien, but toned down. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that, or if you think totally different. Now, Gandalf. Haven't thought about that occupation of Gandalf. I feel like he'd be good with parties, being in the life of a party, Sure, there are parts in the books where he seems introverted, and I apologize, guys. That was my talking botch. Just disregard that, ignore that, pretend that never happened. Gandalf would be... He'd be a showman, okay? He would be... Especially on 4th of July, I think that he would be launching fireworks like crazy. Probably laughing and chuckling to himself as he does so. With that deep, bombastic little laugh of his. Yet it's very soft and quiet. That raspy voice filled with wisdom and age. He would definitely be... How else would I describe him? Like, he would be very smart, very bright, and probably a scholar as well, like Bilbo. I don't know. Maybe he'd be a writer. Who knows? I guess I see him also as an author, writing different accounts of things that happened to him in his life, or writing children's books, writing a lot of fantasy stuff with a lot of like wizards, magic users, witches, sorcerers, that kind of thing. Just writing a lot about magic users and maybe writing books about them and how they help main characters in books. So basically just writing books about magic users would be his type of writing. If he became a writer, I see him reading a lot of fantasy books like Bilbo. I also see Bilbo reading a lot of fantasy books as well. So Gandalf, yeah, I see him reading a lot about wizards because, assuming that he's just a normal human in this case, I think he'd be very fond of wizards had he not been a wizard. I think that he would find them very fascinating to him. But I do think he would be a party person. Like, he'd be at parties all the time, making people feel better, making them want to party, launching fireworks, laughing with people, dancing with people, singing even. Because he does sing, I think. I think that Gandalf sings. So, I could see him just, like, singing at parties, too. Definitely being a fun person to hang with. Just don't get him angry, or he's gonna say something sassy to you. He's gonna get testy and then give a little funny little joke to you, or like be very blunt and then raise his voice kind of thing. But he's definitely the type of guy who would be extremely silly, and even when he's cranky, he'll be funny too. Saying a bunch of weird remarks, but also just being a nice, kind person who wants to help people, maybe helping people and making sure that they're doing okay, giving them wisdom when needed, and being an absolute bookworm, and being the type of person who likes to go out and explore the world. He'd also be a traveler. I feel like Bilbo and Gandalf would be absolute bookworms, just reading books in their spare time. But I feel like Bilbo is the type of person who's a bit of a homebody. I mean, he does like going exploring and stuff, but he kind of is more of a homebody. And then Gandalf's more of the I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go out all day and then I come home late at night and read type of person. Like, he'd be more of that adventurous, going out every day, doing things, being active, traveling all the time. Traveling on airplanes to different countries, taking notes, writing in a diary about his experiences type of thing. Because he is a traveler, and I just see him traveling a lot. Bilbo, I see him traveling a lot too, being very adventurous. But also I see him more of being like the chill type, sitting in his room, chilling, with socks on his feet and listening to an audiobook with hot chocolate in his hand. And he reads. Gandalf is more active. He's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be active all day and then I'm going to come home, kind of thing. But yeah, definitely traveling on airplanes, going to different countries, or even doing like going to the store every day, you know, seeing people, waving to them, saying hi. That's kind of Gandalf's, I guess, his vibes, you know, kind of make me think that. Now, I'm going to say that Aragorn is also a traveler, and he liked going places. I think that he does not like to sit at home and read all day. I think that he likes to go out all the time, and he gets bored at home. So he would go to the store every day just to do something, or go to the park, or I don't know, go see some friends, go see his girlfriend Arwen, take her out to see a movie. And this is modern, assuming that they know about modern commodities and that they live in modern society. He would probably take Arwen out and start dating her. And she would start dating him. And they would just start being boyfriend and girlfriend together and just doing all the boyfriend-girlfriend stuff that boyfriend and girlfriends do. Going to movies, going to dinner, hanging out at coffee places together, hanging out at each other's houses together, doing that kind of thing. That's what I see Aragorn and Arwen doing. Just kind of, I don't know, just hanging out together, just chilling. Chilling in the park, chilling in the car, listening to the radio, listening to cheesy love songs. I love love songs, honestly. I have a sidebar. I have a long playlist, and there are a lot of love songs on there. I don't want to say they're sappy, because that would just be kind of like, ooh. But cheesy, you know? Like, they're sweet but cheesy, and I love it. So I see them listening to some sweet love songs and dancing together in their house. Like, if Aragorn and Arwen came to each other's houses to visit each other, they would start dancing to love songs together. And then they'd eventually get married and have kids and live happily ever after, right out into the sunset. Okay, now, Eowyn and Faramir. I see them dating. I see them doing all the boyfriend-girlfriend stuff, stereotypical boyfriend-girlfriend stuff, maybe differently. But I see Eowyn as the more tough, rebellious partner in the relationship who wants to go out all the time, who wants to, no, she wouldn't be using a sword. This is modern times, so maybe instead she would probably, gosh, what would she do? Maybe instead of being a shield maiden or a nurse, maybe being a person who wants to join the military and wants to fight in the military and be very fierce about it, you know? And maybe she wants to join the men in an army for honor, like Mulan, wink wink, nudge nudge. Also, I do think Mulan would be her favorite Disney movie as well, because she reminds me of her, you know? Because I did a rewatch of the movie, and I was like, wow, Mulan reminds me of Eowyn. And, like, when I was watching certain scenes in the movie with her fighting in the war, I was like, Eowyn would love this movie. Like, the whole time I'm just thinking, how would she react to this movie? But that would be her favorite movie, and because the main character would remind her of herself, and I think that she would go and fight in the military. Fearlessly, too. That would be Eowyn. That would be Eowyn for you. She would just do that. Now, Faramir is the opposite. He's not the type of guy who revels in fighting. He, unlike her, he's chill. He wants to stay at home. He wants to read. He wants to learn about lore. He wants to listen to music. He likes to get comfy on the couch and watch Disney movies. He likes to read J.R.R. Tolkien's works, not Lord of the Rings. So, or The Hobbit. So J.R.R. Tolkien's, like, unfinished unfinished tales. There we go. The Silmarillion. The Fall of Gondolin. I think Faramir would really like to read that one. He would really like, of course, the Silmarillion is a very good book. It's almost like a Bible text. I think he would read that one. He would read Tolkien's other Middle-earth books that are not Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And so, like, all the other less known ones, I think he'd read involving Middle-earth and sort of the histories of it. I think that Faramir would love that. I see him listening to a lot of different types of music, like pop music, country music, maybe a little bit of hip-hop music, classical music for some reason, maybe not rock music. I think Boromir would like rock music. I don't know. I just see him being a singer, or like singing for fun, you know? Just chilling out at home, talking to Bilbo and writing books with him kind of thing, you know? Now, Boromir, he's like Eowyn, okay? He wants to fight for the honor of his family. So I think he'd join the military with her, and he would fight fearlessly and honorably. And he revels in fighting. He revels in being a soldier in the army. I don't, but I support anyone who does. If you want to do that, I will not stop you. I will just say, it's dangerous, but go for it. If that's what you want to do, just go for it. But just be careful. I know it's dangerous, but just go. It's a noble career. So, Boromir would do it. He'd serve in the military. And he would be very proud of it. He'd probably die in battle. Boo-hoo. I did a rewatch of Fellowship of the Ring, and Boromir's death made me cry. And I think that would be very sad if he died. But at least he would have gone out honorably. And even if he didn't die in the military and he came back alive, he would have battle scars, but he'd have a story to tell. And he would be very proud that he did such a thing. That's what I think Boromir would do. He's a bold, go fight it type of guy. And Faramir is the complete opposite. He's a, can I just stay at home and listen to pop music while I read a book and drink hot chocolate and chill in my house? Can I learn about the fall of Gondolin? Can I learn about the first and second age of the Middle Earth, Melkor, the light of the two trees? Can I learn about how that was destroyed by Melkor? You know, he's like a, can I learn about Greek mythology type of person. Speaking of which, I do think that Faramir would love Greek mythology. I think that he would love the Percy Jackson series and Heroes of Olympus. Those are really good books. I just see him geeking out with friends about that stuff. I see him doing his research, then reading the series, then geeking out with friends at school about it, you know? Like, he kind of like goofing about it, talking about it, sharing facts, seeing if they're correct, double checking if Percy was correct about Kronos eating his kids. Ew, that fact was very gross. The gods growing up undigested in Kronos' stomach. Ew, another gross thing I don't like. The fact that they grew up at all, and then that Zeus made Kronos divulge his kids, to put it lightly, using, I don't know if in Greek mythology they used mustard, but he did something. According to Percy Jackson, he used mustard and something else. And then the kids grew up and they killed Kronos and put him in Tartarus. I find that fact extremely gross, but I think Faramir would love that. I don't think he'd like that part of the mythology, but I do think that he would really like about the gods and how they played roles in mythology. And he would honestly find that Kronos bit very gross. I'm just so glad Kronos went to Tartarus. I think that Faramir would, he would like the series though overall. I think he'd have a good time with it. Any series dealing with mythology or a magic system with a lot of mythology-based things going on in it, I think that he would really like. He just seems like a mythology buff, like myself. I'm a mythology buff. I like learning about lore. I listening to music. I like reading and writing, so I'm a geek, but in the best way possible. I'm a lot like Faramir, and Tolkien even wrote those facts down about Faramir. I'm not even making these up. These are true facts about him. Also, I think I would be friends with Faramir because we kind of have the same personality a little bit. Although I do think Faramir is a bit more quieter, soft-spoken, a bit less of a bubbly, outgoing, hi, how's it going? Bounce off the walls energy the way I am. I'm more like that. He's more of that calm, chill, quieter, let me tell you some facts about the Titan gods and what happened to them, kind of thing. But he's more calm about it. But I do think that I would be friends with him. I think I kind of relate to the guy. I think that in today's society, he would be considered a geek in the best way possible, and I'm glad of it. And that he and Boromir would just be two brothers with two different temperaments. And that's okay. You have two different temperaments, you're fine. You don't need to be exactly the same. You can be different and be related and be loving to each other. That's what I think Faramir would do. He'd be like, yeah, I'm good. Okay, now Denethor, Denathor? I don't know if I spelled that correctly. Sorry if I spelled that wrong. He would also fight in the military, like Boromir. And he would force Faramir to do the same thing. Because he would want Faramir to be like Boromir. And Faramir would not like that. He'd want to do his own thing. And Denethor, Denathor, I believe is how you spell that, would be like, no, you're going to be like your brother and that's final, and would probably force him into the army without his consent. Because he's that strict, stern father who only does what he wants, not what everyone else wants, and he doesn't even ask consensus from everyone else. His wife, on the other hand, I don't quite know a lot about her, but assuming she's alive in this time, and well, she'd be like, I'm not so sure about this. Let the boys do what they want to do. They're not going to be under your thumb forever, kind of thing, you know? But Denethor would be the controlling dad who's like, no, you're doing it my way. And very mean about it as well. Okay, moving on. Let me think. Arwen, I covered her dating Aragorn. Arwen would just be the girl who likes reading books. She would be chilling in her room reading books with her father, and she would just be bonding with him all the time, going on like little vacations with him every once in a while, or just reading stories to him just to bond with him, and just having fun. And she'd be an absolute geek, because I think that she likes music, and I think that she would just be very smart, but very sweet and gentle, but also a little bit headstrong and rebellious because she loves Aragorn, and she wants to marry him, but her daddy says no. That's kind of what I think would happen to her. I just do think that she would just be the type of person who goes to school every day with a book in her hand and reads it. And then I think that she likes romance novels, and that she just reads them all the time, and she doesn't stop. She just likes reading romance novels, and she has a lot of fun. And Aragorn reads a lot of heroic stuff. So like the story of Hercules, the story of Odysseus, the story of Beowulf, that kind of thing. All those epics. I think that he reads a lot of epics like that. Star Wars, even though I'm not a fan of Star Wars, but he probably watches that. Harry Potter, I think, too. I think that Aragorn would read about the boy who lived, and he would have so much fun because he would be like, yes, this is exactly how I want to be. I want to be a great person when I grow up. Well, he reads the books, good versus evil, the destruction of evil, the destruction of the evil that pervades the books must be destroyed. The great hero is going to be king, and he's going to be proud of it, and he's going to be famous. So Aragorn would absolutely love that series. I think he'd go crazy over it. And if I were Aragorn's friend, I'd beg, me too. Me too, buddy, I know. And we would both read it together and have so much fun. Arwen, on the other hand, likes romance novels and so like sweet love stories. So a lot of the Disney princess movies I think Arwen would watch. Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, The Little Mermaid even, Tangled, Frozen, maybe, I don't know about that one. Brave, I don't think so. I think Thorin would watch that one though. I think that he'd have a fun time with that one. So a lot of the earlier Disney princess movies, Arwen would just go crazy over. She would love that kind of stuff. A lot of romance, magical romance, I think, for her. Fantasy for Gandalf, because I think that he would like a lot of magical stories. About magic users, the way I do. Bilbo, poetry for him. Poetry and fantasy, I think, would be Bilbo's favorites. So like magic users and stuff like that. But definitely a lot of poems. Maybe a bit of Shakespeare if he's so inclined. Maybe not Edgar Allan Poe. That's a little too horrifying. I see Sauron reading Edgar Allan Poe and just having so much fun reading his works. Bilbo, no. Maybe not that for him. Sauron and Ahriman, yes, definitely. Faramir, mythology books, or fantasy books involving mythology, or fantasy books that have a mythology in it. Boromir would like any books about soldiers, I think, and how they fight in a war and how they overcome their struggles. Aragorn likes any books about great superheroes and kings, like Superman, Spider-Man, Marvel. I think that he would really like that. That kind of thing. Harry Potter. But definitely Marvel for him. I think that Aragorn, I don't know, I just see him watching superhero movies for some reason and quoting Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, and just kind of having fun. Arwen likes romance movies, anything romance books. Aragorn likes epics. It's like any story that is an epic that's very old. Eowyn likes any stories, fictional or non-fictional, I don't really care, about a soldier or soldiers fighting honorably and overcoming their problems. So basically same as Boromir. Now Denethor, probably the same thing as well. Anything about fighting. Or horror movies. I think Denethor likes horror movies. I see him watching a lot of horror movies and just kind of having a lot of fun watching them because they're dark and scary, kind of like the way he is in the movies. But assuming that he is a guy living in modern day, he would just like horror movies and dark, scary stuff. Not exactly me, but if Denethor likes it, fine. I'll just accept that he likes it and I'll leave. But yeah, that would be him. Okay, I covered all of that. Now, moving on. If you liked this video, I hope you found this assessment of what I think the characters are like in terms of modern stuff interesting. I tried to be as accurate and as true to the characters as they are portrayed in the books and movies, but I tried to change that and make their interests more modern. I tried. And I hope you liked this video. I hope this was interesting for you YouTube viewers to watch. Tell me if you agree or disagree in the comments and why. Give a detailed reason why. And I hope you like and subscribe soon. And I'll see you in the next video, which topic is going to be, how would the Lord of the Rings characters react in a modern setting? If there was movies made about them, how would they react when they watched their own movies? I was I don't see a lot of fan fiction about that, so I might have to write my own about Lord of the Rings characters being sent into a room to watch their own movies. But that's going to be the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and I hope everything was great. Have a nice day. Goodbye. The Energetic Hope Cat.